All right, welcome to the Ink Panels Graphic Novel Book Club, Episode 8. We're doing Lock and Key, Volume 1. Welcome to Lovecraft. And I'm Dan, I'm the host. My co-host, Gambit.
Hello.
We have Jennifer, Gin and Comics. Also, you can find her reviews on the Comic Lounge. And formerly of the Comic Lounge, Cidnya. And she's now with... But why, though?
Yep. It's like a podcast and a website. And it's got a whole bunch of members who write reviews on comics and other things. And they also have podcasts and stuff like that.
So we have two reviewers, actual published reviewers. I do my hacky YouTube ones, and we actually have an artist. So we have a little bit of everything.
You say artist, and people are gonna expect like so much insight. It's like, yeah,
you have the artistic.
I just draw pretty pictures on people's skin.
Well, you do too. So, three of you have never read this before. I'm the only one who has read this. But going into it, what were your expectations? I'll start with Cidnya, since you are the newest guest.
I didn't know what to expect because all I heard was Stephen King's son, and I was like, either this is like the most famous hack fraud ever, or it's like he actually might be like really good, because I love Stephen King a lot, and even the things that Stephen King doesn't do well, I still find endearing. So I was hoping to at least find whatever the story was as endearing, basically.
Jennifer?
So it's been, Lock and Key's been recommended to me a lot, and I had never even taken it seriously until you had recommended like coming on the show and reading it. And then I finally bit the bullet and did it. I think there was a lot of expectation for me going in. And I think what I experienced was a little bit different than my expectations. So there was a little bit of a letdown, but I still enjoyed it.
Gambit?
Well, first of all, it's Stephen King's son?
Yeah.
Oh, I just learned that.
He doesn't use Stephen King.
I just learned that. That's pretty cool. So I'm only familiar with this book because of your tattoo. But I had no expectations of it. I honestly did not. I just said that. No expectations at all. So just repeat it in different words. But yeah, I didn't know what I was getting into. It's not something that I would have picked up by myself if it wasn't recommended.
For me, I kept hearing about it, and the covers were always like interesting, especially when it gets to the second volume, Keys to the Kingdom. I think there were 3 trades in when I started. My mom had just had a stroke, and I was in the hospital a lot seeing her, and I was just like, you know what? I'm finally going to bite the bullet and just read this damn book because I have nothing else to do, and I just needed that little bit of like horror. So I figured, Stephen King's son, it's going to be horror related. And I devoured the first 3 volumes in a night, like just ran through it. Then I was bored for a couple of days because I banked on having, slowly reading that. And it is one of those books, though. The first volume sets up everything after that. And then the volumes after start touching into the supernatural fantasy elements of it, where you get wilder and wilder keys popping up. But you kind of have to trudge through this first volume of tragedy, which, had we read this about a month and a half ago, probably would have broken me rereading it. Also, I weirdly bonded with people over this book. We have a friend named Sid who used to be the counter girl at the tattoo parlor, huge comic book nerd. And her and I talked about this book endlessly, along with Preacher and everything, Remender. Also, that's your shout out, Sid, when you watch this in Thailand. So love you. It's one of those books, though, the further into the volumes, the more I enjoyed it. So I can see why reading this first volume, you're just like, okay, why is everybody talk so lovingly about this? So let's dive into it. What were your thoughts, Cidnya?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm curious right now to hear what she wants to say.
I think the book looks ugly. I straight up I don't like looking at it. I think if I were to rate this, I'd give it like in totality almost a perfect score. But like the art just like not that it's like so unbearable that I can't read it, but I'm just like, man, these character designs are gross and I don't like it. Because everyone's always like, oh, Gabriel's art is like perfectly matching for this story. And I'm like, no, it's not. But that's how I feel.
I feel like it's to show the ugliness of the characters. Because if you look at his covers, they're completely different.
Yeah.
It's like I get making the villains look ugly, but everything looks ugly, and I hate it.
Boy, you and Jennifer are like in sync. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's funny. Like when you asked me what I thought about it, I'm like, I was much nicer in my critique of the artwork than you just were. I was like, well, you know, it came out in the early 2000s. I think that was the artwork for the time, but I didn't think that the artwork fit for the horrorness. I felt like the artwork did look a lot more childish than I expected. Granted, you know, that art style from back then that's the style that was, but between the colors of it and the line work, I didn't care for the artwork, but that was, you know, the worst part.
So we have a question, and I think this is one of Cidnya's friends.
It's actually one of mine.
Oh, one of yours.
So just gonna, hey everyone, so I'm sure it's a question for all. Okay, cool.
Comic worth getting over the book. I buy the trades. It's cheaper in the long run.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to go ahead and find the single issues to have in a collection, it's pretty cool. But I have the trade, and that's it. I'm happy with it. You know.
Wait till Barnes and Noble has one of their buy one or buy two get the third.
Buy two get one free.
Yeah, that would be your best option.
Yeah.
Because that's how I bought all of them, and I worked there, and I had 40% off too when I worked for them. So kind of worked.
I don't know if there's any subscribers to Comixology Unlimited right now, but if you have Comixology Unlimited, you can read the first volume for free. I mean, granted, you're paying for Comixology, but it's free if you have it. If you shop at Amazon. If you don't shop at Amazon, go to your local comic book store and buy the trade.
Which usually, you can work out a deal with your LCS too if you buy in bulk. So
I actually got my trade for like $7 at my LCS because my LCS has like a reward point system plus a 15% off discount for people who like sub to books. So I got like a discount plus a bunch of points I could use to the purchase. So, woo.
So are you gonna crush the art now?
Yeah, and I'm just waiting for you guys to finish that part of the what you recommend of the book. I recommend the trade. For me, I stopped buying singles a long time ago until House of X and Power of X. But that's not what we're here for. What we're here for is for Locke and Key. So the art, it's a little bit more urban than I like. Feels like I would see that style in a graffiti in a wall more than in a comic book.
Yeah.
I don't mind it. I feel like it did the job well. It communicated well what they wanted to communicate, and I like his storytelling. For me, when I read a book, I honestly can overlook if an artist it's bad or if it's not a style, not bad. If it's a style that I don't like, versus if he can tell a story well and he can move those panels well. And I feel like he did that really well. That the transition from panel to panel and page to page was good enough for me that I can overlook that the style of art I don't appreciate it that much. I mean, I can appreciate it for what it is. It still looks beautiful. For me, the book still looks beautiful. Just it's not particularly the art style that I like to see in a comic.
For me, honestly, I've read so many Garth Ennis comics. I'm used to like this crazy writing and then having this kind of loose, not common art style with like John McCrae. I mentioned Steve Dillon earlier before we started, where it's not your common type of art, but it weirdly kind of works for the book. Jason Burrows is another guy. Alan Moore and Garth Ennis uses, who his is a little bit more dirty line work, but it kind of works for the book. And again, like I feel like he was trying to show the ugliness of the characters a little bit, especially Sam Lesser. Sam Lesser, Jesus Christ, that character. I must have forgotten a lot of what happened because I'm reading it going, I don't remember this. Like I don't remember him being so fucked up. And then the stitches and everything. At least on the art, that's where I'm at. Was that your controversial statement on that, Cidnya?
Yeah, I just think, okay, but it's weird because like Gambit was saying, I think a lot of the storytelling techniques in the panels was really good. Like I liked, a lot of the static shots. I liked the different perspectives. It's not just like face to face. Like we get like little like bird's eye views and stuff like that. I love like the technique and the repetition in the art. I just hate how it looks. I just don't like it.
That's fair. I thought you found something in the story that like triggered you because I was like trying to figure out what could it have been. I was like, is it the Stephen King stuff? Because like I don't know. So it's weird that I watched the Netflix trailer earlier today, and it's weird that they use the Harry Potter music sort of in the trailer because the only thing these two have in common is they start with home invasions. It is. One was magic, and the other one was two assholes with a gun and a hatchet.
And you can argue that that's magical too.
That's not magical. That is not magical. But it was just a weird music choice, and it made me think of Harry Potter. I was like, there couldn't be two things further apart except for, the home invasion at the beginning. Which do you think Netflix is going to keep that home invasion? Because that's kind of brutal.
Playing off of like that Harry Potter music, like when Kate, the editor-in-chief, she already watched the whole season, but I think in her review she said that like it was toned down so that like more people can watch it. So it's like the story is already super big about family dynamics and like the interactions you have with like your immediate family. But I feel like Netflix probably was like, we're not going to go that intense with it. Because I was like, this is rated M for mature. And I was like, or it should be, or it's like, oh yeah, it's suggested for mature readers. But it's like, if this were turned into a movie, and I was like, it would be rated R probably. So I was really intrigued by the fact that I don't think the Netflix show is higher than a TV-14.
So
at least I think.
Your overall vibe on this book, what would you think the theme is of it, at least for volume 1? Because for me, it was completely PTSD. Like that whole family has PTSD.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I definitely think it's childhood trauma and like family and like troubled family dynamics riddled with like PTSD and other various mental health issues. Reading this reminded me a lot of watching the movie Hereditary, but from Ari Aster.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I haven't watched that movie. Okay, so I'm not a big horror fan, so I might miss some of your forget it. I forgot the word that I was looking for. But yeah.
Well, if you want to watch Midsummer, you can see people eat pubic hair. Yeah.
No, I kind of don't want to. Kind of not my thing right now. I just ate, so.
I feel like a lot of the recommendations that I got about this book definitely compared it to Lovecraft, obviously with the title Welcome to Lovecraft, but other than just some name dropping of Lovecraft, I didn't particularly get any Lovecraftian vibes. There was not like maybe that's why I felt a little bit not disappointed in this book, but my expectations going in was there's going to be some cosmic horror, and it was definitely a little bit more on the supernatural side, and maybe even that like Victorian Gothic horror novel vibe, but I didn't get a Lovecraftian vibe from it.
Oh yeah, I was expecting tentacles and huge creatures.
Yeah.
I legit was expecting it to be more Lovecraftian than it is, and that's why it took me a little bit. by surprise, because when I started reading it, I was expecting a completely different book. It felt more realistic, more real than supernatural. Although at the end, it turns out a bit more that the supernatural thing is amped up a little bit. But I was expecting something mystical and supernatural from page one. I think it flows really good, and I think that it works because I think that the supernatural aspect at the end works better by the fact that it gives you that realism at the beginning. That touch of I don't know if realism is the correct word, but that touch of reality to it. I feel like it makes you connect better with these characters, and by the end, you are ready to believe that there's this thing in the well telling you to do things that you're not supposed to be doing.
Pennywise at the well.
Oh, Pennywise.
The most realistic scene to me, and like it still touches a nerve, at the funeral home where everybody keeps coming up and talking to Tyler. Like I've experienced that same thing where people just come up and start talking nonsense and no one knows really what to tell you or what to say to you. That scene still gets to me. And then when it jumps to how they took out Sam and the other kid, where the mom took the axe to the guy's head, like,
oh yeah.
Oh my God, so brutal. And like Sam chasing them through the house. Like, I don't want to hurt you, Tyler. You gave me the idea to kill my dad.
That was hard. These people, this dude was pretty brutal. I feel like he did not hold back at all. Like he put everything that he wanted to put in that book, and I think that's great. I think that it feels, for me, it feels honest. It feels like what he was writing, it's coming from somewhere. Maybe obviously I'm not saying that he witnessed the death of his parents that way, because obviously that's not what happened. But
yeah,
he had some brutal experience at some point. That
wasn't this when the school shooting started like really popping off too, 2008 when this came out.
Oh.
Well, I mean, if you think Columbine, that happened much before that, but I think this was definitely in an era where school shootings were a lot more on people's minds than previously.
And then the painting of the key house, like the well, the echo in the well, telling Sam in the Mr. Locke's office to kill him.
You see, that's when I think that the art was beautiful. And when I say beautiful, I mean that it worked super well with the story. Those few panels where he's looking at the painting and he sees that the girl in the painting is telling him to help her. I feel like that was worked really well, and I can again overlook the fact that it's not a style that I would particularly look for, but and just focus on how well he's telling that story.
This was Joe Hill's first comic book, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And he had done screenplays before this?
Possibly, and I think he had one novel out by this time, which I believe was Horn.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which was a terrible movie. I really hated that
movie.
Oh,
I wanted to watch that movie.
Yeah, I want to watch that movie too. I haven't gone around to it.
It's on my watch list since forever.
It's Harry Potter with horns.
It was kind of awkward because you do see Daniel Radcliffe get into some things that you're like, dude, Harry Potter, what are you doing? But I had to take a step back and be like, this isn't Harry Potter, this, I don't know.
Oh, I had that with True Detective when it came out. I was like, hey, it's that girl from oh god, the Lightning Thief. I forget what
Percy Jackson.
Percy Jackson. I was like, oh, she's getting it on with Woody Harrelson. Oh my god. All right. Well, I can never watch that movie. Yeah. What? Yes, like full on like boning. Anyway,
no, what did you say? No, I saw that movie. I remember that movie, but why did you say Woody Harrelson?
Because she gets naked and bones Woody Harrelson in True Detective season 1.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. But
yeah. Like
How to
full action. Yeah, so it's that weird thing when you see people as child actors, and then you're like, oh, it's sexy time now for them.
Yeah, that's a
This
little
is
bit awkward.
Yes, it's very weird. So, what are things that you liked or hated outside of the art?
Do you want to go first, Jen?
The thing, yeah, sure, I'll go first. I did like that, like you said, there was a connection to like post-traumatic stress disorder, and even though this family has gone through a lot, they've obviously maybe grown stronger, but then they understand that they're still themselves. Like, to me, this isn't even necessarily like a ghost story or a story about the home. It's a story about family and coming together after trauma.
Cidnya?
Yeah, I liked a lot of how Gabriel told us about how each character internalized the events that happened in the beginning of the story with the home invasion. Like, okay, wait, but okay. I have so many thoughts, and I need to like
just start flipping through your little tabs that you.
That's why I looked at it and I was like, wait a second. Visually, I think there's a lot of callbacks and references, like the daughter's name. I forget her name because her name wasn't told to us until page. I don't know why it took so long for us to find out her name, but I bookmarked it because I was like, that's ridiculous. But it took a while for us to figure out her name, and I didn't like that, but that's because I'm really picky.
Sorry. You know what? I didn't notice that it took so long for us to hear her, to learn her name, but I did notice that after the incident in the funeral home, it's like Ty is the only one for a minute there, I thought that he was the only one who survived, and it wasn't until a few pages later when they arrive at the house that you see that the kid gets out of the car and that his mom gets out of the car and his sister gets out. It's like, oh, wait, it's not a lot of people alive here. What's up? You know?
Yeah.
Tyler really takes on a central thing, I guess, because of the conflict between him and his dad. Like, it starts focusing on him so much.
And he's the oldest kid?
Yeah, he's the asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that he was going to be the main character of the whole series, of the at least this first book. I thought he was going to be the main character. I did not know that we were gonna see this from each one of them, one of the kids' point of view, practically. Because again, for a minute there, I thought that he was the only survivor, you know. And now that she mentions that we didn't learn her name until possibly almost issue 2. Because I honestly don't remember.
They never say it until they get to
the house,
the key house. Yeah.
I found it's on page 45.
Page 45 of the trade. So that means that was issue 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we didn't learn the name of
midway
one
through
of the main characters
issue 2.
Of issue 2. Wow. Huh. That's odd.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird little things throughout the book that I found very, like, I don't know, like, I felt like if there was, I love suspense and I love not knowing things, but I also feel like with such a character-driven story outside of, like, the horrors of, the beginning, I feel like I just wanted to know what their name was, because I'm like, who the heck is this white girl with dreads?
Yeah.
Who is this?
Yeah. I'm glad she cut them off at the end, because I'm like, I don't know if you should be having dreads, girl.
Yeah.
I'm like,
probably some Sugar Ray still.
Sugar Ray.
But then she was fine.
The weird thing is that when she talks about how she had to change how she dressed, because she's like, well, if you wear your political statement on your shirt, that just means you're insecure. There was that scene, and I was like, oh, what the hell? That came out of nowhere.
Yeah. That was a little bit. I also think that it was like what are you? What? No, I don't think so. I don't see it that way. But yeah, I guess.
Yeah, some of the writing was a little jarring because I feel like Joe Hill wants to say something, and I'm like, Joe Hill, you can just use Twitter. It's okay, fam. You don't.
Yeah, constantly. Why not?
Yeah, I'm like, it's okay. You don't have to say that through your like 14-year-old girl character.
Yeah, yeah.
Twitter in 2008.
I mean, I maybe it's written like that on purpose, you know. Maybe I sometimes give writers more credit than maybe he wrote that, and we're like, oh, he should have written it this other way, or maybe just Twitter to say it, you know. And he's in his head, he's like, okay, so this is what a girl that went through this would think this way at this moment. I'm not saying it's accurate, but maybe he did that on purpose, you know. That I guess what I'm trying to say is that not necessarily means that that's what he wanted to say, but it does feel like that's something that he wanted to put out there. Somehow he wanted to put out there that if you wear your political statement in your shirt, you're secure.
At some points, I couldn't tell who we were supposed to be, who was our POV character, because sometimes it seemed like he wanted to be Tyler, where other times it was supposed to be seen through Bodhi. We never see the world through Kinsey's eyes, like, ever.
No. I felt a lot of like connection to Bodhi. I just thought that was cute, especially when he talks about transitioning into like being a ghost. I thought that was adorable and endearing, and I'm like, okay, I like this.
Oh, that little picture he drew for his teacher that he was looking for his
Mhm.
dad. Oh, God.
Yeah, the comic that he drew.
Yeah, oh. And the mother's just like, oh, brother, how do we deal with this?
That little comic has better storytelling than a bunch of artists that I know. Just saying.
That's funny.
It's not false. Not false.
I am not wrong, and you know it.
I know. I'm not even gonna name names because one name came to my head real fast. Yeah, I'm not gonna go there.
No, let's continue with
yes. So what's your next tab that you?
I think the pacing of this story was really good, although I don't necessarily appreciate how time skips are not whatchamacallit. Usually an editor would insert like a text box like in between a gutter and a panel to be like then and now. And that did happen, like throughout the book, but there were like within issues, there were times where it would just be like one panel, something ends, and then it like switches it like time or like is completely different. And not that it's like necessarily confusing, it just throws you off at first and you're like, okay, like I get it, but I just found that an editor could have easily just inserted like then and it would have been fine. But I think Joe Hill is really good at suspense and pacing because I felt like the home invasion happened very quickly. And I was like, oh my God, like awful.
Through current to the past too, like the funeral, and you don't know exactly what happens. The last time you saw it was, Tyler stepped in the paint can, and then it jumps to what happened in the cellar, and then it kind of jumps again. And then the mom takes the axe to the kid's head. Like, interesting the way he kept cutting it, because I started getting annoying. I was like, I know what happens. Just why is it not there yet? Yeah. I would have rather seen it all in one shot.
Instead of that flashback, flash forward, going back, just have this happen, and then now we're here. Yeah.
So I noticed that the jumps from the time jumps sometimes can get a little bit confusing. They feel like they're happening at the same time, which now that I say it out loud sounds way more interesting than what I was thinking. But it feels like everything's happening at the same time in terms of when you're going through the pages, except for when they go into the not flashback. The flashback that they made them in black and white. That's the one time that it's only different. That those back then panels are different. It's when they're making sure that there is some character remembering that moment. When I work with my pages, I try to make the pages that are a flashback or the panels that are in a different time period to be stylistically different enough from the current pages, so that when you flip, even if you flip from a page to the other, you know that page looks so different that you know immediately that you're not following the current events that you were following. And I feel like that's something that maybe he could have worked differently, because it didn't take long to realize that you were that you changed time periods, you know, that you went on to back or to front, even if you missed that box that says on the top that says back then and now. But it flows really nice. So like I said, there's some little things, not little things, but there's some things that I can overlook if at the end of the book I can say, okay, I read this in one sitting, no problem. I haven't been able to read a book in one sitting for a while. So the fact that I picked up this book and I couldn't put it down again until I was done, for me, says I can overlook a lot of the flaws of the book just because I got to enjoy it that much.
The most compelling for me was from the time Sam escapes and starts going cross country. From him taking the scissors apart and stabbing the guard in the eyes while the internet guy runs out the door.
Oh, yeah.
The trucker picking him up and basically going, oh, you don't have any money? Well, I got some people if you don't mind going to a bathroom for all. I was like, we're going right there. And the thing I posted on Instagram last night where Sam kills everybody on the bus and he's wearing the bus driver's hat driving and he's got this big smile on his face.
I like it that he says, I'm pretty good at predicting what's going to happen.
He talks about that constantly.
Like, I know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen next. It's kind of my gift. I know what's going to happen next. It's always the same. He kills the one, whoever he is that he needs to kill, you know?
Also, I'm curious if Netflix is really going to use the gender key a lot that the Echo uses. Because I see that causing like some triggering.
I think as long as they do it in a respectful way and don't use it to make it hokey or gimmicky, because anyone who's transgender or, you know, is not part of the gender binary, I think as long as we don't make it hokey and like, oh, I was a boy and now I'm a girl, like that's not what, you know, that's about. I think as long as they don't make it hokey and they, you know, they could leave that part out entirely, and I think that the story would still shine.
They have to use it, I think, just to have the Echo become the boy, the male body, because of how in the future books, Zach seduces Kinsey.
Oof! I'm what? Ah!
Yeah.
What? I'm looking at the page right now. It's 157 of when like we see. Yeah, I was actually. Well, I mean, I like study English, so I have like a really keen like memory as to like what side pages, like what side of a page like something is on. So I can kind of like, oh, I know exactly where that is. I can like see it in my head. Yeah, okay. I thought it was like, I'm pretty sure that's the Echo, right? I was like, it was like Zach has the same facial structure, but I was like,
yep, but got a lip ring.
Oh yeah. And like the clothing color scheme is also the same from the jacket and pants, but instead it's a red shirt and like jeans.
And then the gym teacher with her picture of the Echo with the younger version of their dad doing the Tempest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's when she recognizes the bracelet.
Yeah, the bracelet with the anywhere key. Also, like the way the Echo, it's promised to Sam to take care of him. And
she did take care of him.
Breaks the neck and throws him through the ghost door.
Yeah.
Rip.
Made him more powerful than he could ever imagine.
Yeah. You know what Sam's cross-country trip reminded me of? I'm going to reference another movie, but it's the one with Woody Harrelson and Natural Born Killers, of like their spree of just mayhem.
But they tried for a minute to make him a somewhat sympathetic character. Like,
yeah, I like that, like, shoehorn, like, feel bad for him, this is why he's evil. And I'm like, dude, he's killed so many people, I don't care.
Yeah, it didn't work. I did not feel sorry for him at all.
But the other buddy, like, they never explained what the hell his reasoning was to join
No.
up with Sam. The kid with the bald head, like,
Yeah, that's actually, I didn't think about
he
it.
was like evil Charlie Brown.
I guess when that happens in my case, I just, what's the reasoning for him to doing this? Maybe Sam just said whatever things, and he was easily manipulated. Hey, he promised him magical things. He's looking for this key to. I'm pretty sure he already knows what those keys do. Or at least he believes. I mean, I guess that if you're seeing in a toilet a reflection of something talking to you and saying you got to find this key, you are going to believe that key.
You're gonna find it.
The jail toilet, and it was able to give him the mirror and the scissors.
Oh yeah, that alone is if at that point you still don't believe what's happening, and you then just.
And I sat there after the guard got stabbed with the scissors, like, oh, those came out of the toilet. And that's like,
Oh,
it's gonna get so infected.
It's even worse.
I guess that's the least of your worries at this point. That's the least of your worries. Like,
Right?
you've murdered people.
It's like, Fisher, where did he get these scissors? The toilet. Oh no, take it out. Take it
That's
out.
unsanitary.
And weirdly with Kinsey, her big moment was her deciding to go running on a Saturday after she told that girl no. She just got the shit beat out of her by Sam, where that was pretty brutal. Like,
oh yeah, the way he I thought he had killed her. Honestly, I think that was a big step for her, because if pages before she didn't even want to shake this girl's hand.
Mhm.
So I feel like after being beaten brutally like you were, like, and witnessing basically the murder of your dad, the fact that she still has the strength to say, let's go out running, let me put my running shoes and let me go to talk to a complete stranger and say, let's go out running. I think that's a big step. I think it takes a lot of stones to do that.
oh, when she reaches when her dad dies, where they said when they got Bodhi out of her arms, how he had black and blues from how hard she was holding him.
Yeah, that's
and she bit down on her lip to stay quiet and was bleeding out of her mouth. That was like detail that like you don't see added in very often.
Like, you can feel that. Like, even
Yes.
if you've never gone through that, like, you can like feel that and get into that character's head.
Yeah, it was a weird psychological profile sort of like what that character was going through. I don't see that very often with them going this far into the psychology of what they were going through. And I kind of commend that, because most comics, I think, would gloss over that, just not even ever go into that at all.
Or they would even make the victim as a victim's sake, as opposed to, it's the difference between giving the victim a backstory that just makes you feel bad for them, as opposed to making a victim or someone who's been through a lot, like, really experiencing, like, that empathy is what you feel as opposed to sympathy.
And like Bodhi's dreams about the freaking knock joke.
Yeah.
Had a hole in his freaking head. Like, oh, good God.
Yeah, I felt sad for the kid. I honestly felt sad for the kid when he started having those nightmares, because that's no matter how you look at it, that's a very, very harsh nightmare to have when you're how old is this kid? Like maybe 8 years old, something like that.
I don't think they ever said.
Yeah, it's not established.
But it's okay. It's okay. That doesn't. She's just a kid, Just the fact that he's having nightmare of his dad with a hole in his head,
Telling knock jokes.
Telling jokes. It's kind of. You just seeing the kid's face, with his eyes wide open in bed, at night, like, and then you can see his fear, I felt really bad for him.
And then Zach shows up saying he's living with the track coach. Like, like what is? And you see the track coach's eyes, like, sees him show up, like,
Yeah, I'm super curious about the backstory with this character and the track coach and the dad, I forgot his name. Oh my God.
Renell.
Rendell.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious as to see what happened before, before all this.
You do eventually in the last couple of trades.
Yeah.
Which, if you ever want to borrow, I've got them.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm thinking volume 2 like after we do this, because now I need to know.
Yeah, I really liked how Gabriel touched on like all of the physical ramifications of like dealing with trauma. Like Kinsey like continuously still tends to like clench and like bite her lips and stuff like that. And like on page 112, Ty is just like sitting on the couch, or he's just like sitting in like a chair watching TV, but like as the dialogue between him and his mom and the television is going on, you just see like within the 4 panels that he has like a lighter in his hand and is like
on his hand,
recovering. And like he's so devoid of feeling because he knows he has to like accept these responsibilities. Because he just was like, I need to be like the strong person for Bodhi. And, like I need to be the person who's, strong for everyone. You can kind of see that like disconnect that he feels with his like mind and his body, and it just stuff like that throughout the book is really interesting, and I really liked it.
He's in the shed and Bodhi walks in. He's like, "Are you being sad?" And he's like, "Oh, leave me alone."
That's why I'd say it's moments like that where I can overlook that the art style, and again, it's not that it's bad. It's just that it's not my favorite, or not something that I particularly look for in a comic book. But he did such a good job in those panels and make you feel that moment. Like when he's sitting in the chair watching the news, I can relate with him just watching the news, bad news after bad news after bad news. You can see how his shoulders are tense, how he's uncomfortable just sitting there. I've been there. So he got to express that so well that that's why I say that overall the book is a beautiful book. Quick pause to correct something that we mentioned earlier. Her moment of going out running was before she was almost beaten to death.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was before that. It was when she learned that the dude had escaped prison. That's when she overheard that the dude had escaped prison. Sorry, I had to look that up because
I can imagine like just that news of, hey, this guy escaped, and the cop shows up to tell them, and of course the mom's just like, hey, did I get more wine?
Do I have enough wine for this?
Yeah.
I mean, I can relate to the mom a lot too. It's like, yeah, I need more wine for this bullshit.
And then the uncle's like, well, they got 300 bottles. It'll at least take her till the end of summer. And he's trying to have that conversation like, hey, maybe you should go get some help.
Yeah.
And she's still like just tilting back.
Yeah, he's trying to talk to her. It was a very inopportune moment when he was trying to tell her that hey, you need to dial it down a notch on the alcohol. And suddenly there's this dude that's been tracking her for across country, and trying to kill them for something she has no idea exists. I think that's the worst. That would be one of the worst feelings. Like, why is this dude tracking me? What does he want? I don't know what he's talking about. Because only the kid has proof and knowledge of this happening. Everyone else thinks it's the kid's imagination. So it's like, why are you following me? Why are you stalking me and killing my family and torturing us for a key that I don't even know what you're talking about? I think that should be. I think that must be one of the most frustrating things of all these situations, not knowing why, not even having a reasoning. It's like,
well, even Rendell's talking to the wife at one point. She's like, why don't we live at Key House? And he's like, well, the house didn't choose us, it chose my brother. And it was like, wait, yeah, they never explained that in the rest of the series.
No, but here's the thing, the way they explain, now that there's something special about the house, with that conversation. But the way they play it off, she thinks that he's just talking because he's drunk. It's like, this is the drunk man just talking BS. I fantasize a lot when I get drunk too. I understand that. So it's more like I hope that later on they explain what's special about the house. I mean, we already know what's special about the house. You can have that. Well, it's the key, not the door.
It's the keys.
I love this like house mythos. I'm like a sucker for like haunted house stories, and like one of my favorite books is like House of Leaves, which is like a book about like a house that's physically too big on the inside than it is at in the outside, and it like morphs into like a horror house as like people's moods change. So I think the idea of like magical keys that like open up doors to I don't really know because it doesn't explain in the first trade, but I mean I can only imagine that you're gonna see more like horror, maybe mystical stuff, and maybe some Lovecraft influence could maybe come in.
Hopefully
Otherwise,
later on, at least.
Yeah, otherwise it's really lame that he just called it Welcome to Lovecraft because it's in Maine. It's in Maine. Or whatever.
The book you just talked about when I was at Barnes & Noble was the most returned book we carried.
Which one?
Wow.
So
Yikes.
This book by Whiskey, the typography, you have to have patience to read it. So people would buy this book and then start reading it and they'd be like, oh, fuck this. It's too much work.
Yeah.
So you'd have to start
I love it.
to read it.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Oh, wow. Now
It's
I'm kind of curious.
so cool. I know, it's so cool. It's so good. Everyone else is just lame.
You can't read it in digital unless you screen lock it because it'll keep shifting on you. Oh, wait.
But yeah, I really liked it.
Gonna have to check that out.
Just go into the bookstore and just start looking at it real fast. You'll know in 5 minutes if you can handle it. So, going to that part of the show I love doing, would you recommend this to others? And if so, what would your grade be out of 10?
Ooh. I would say, so normally this would not be like if I had read it years ago, and not now. This probably wouldn't be something that I'd recommend right now. I'd probably recommend a couple, like if someone said that they were into horror, I'd probably recommend other books. If someone said that they were into Lovecraft, I'd probably recommend other books. And I would say I would probably not necessarily recommend this book now, but maybe 10 years ago, I probably would have recommended it. But I do think that the Netflix show looks incredible. So I might say, hey, read the first trade and check out the Netflix show.
Cidnya?
I would tell people, hey, did you watch Hereditary? Did you did you like that take on horror? Okay, you can read Lock and Key because it's right up your alley. And I think I would be very upfront with people with its like how it's more suspense, family drama than it is like horror. Like it's not. Yeah, I'd be like it's suspense, it's drama, and it's not going to hit what you want out of a horror book necessarily because it didn't do that for me. But I still appreciated it. But I don't think I would appreciate it if I didn't get that kind of take on like family trauma and like family tragedy and how it affects people. And then you delve into like in Hereditary, it's like you delve into like haunted house and like spirits and stuff like that. And this kind of is going in the same direction. But so I would give it like an 8 out of 10. Because I really liked it, but there's a lot of nuance to it that like kind of bothers me. But I can overlook it because I liked it in general.
Me, this is the type of book that I wouldn't recommend to everyone. I would recommend it to, for example, I have a circle of friends that I know who, depending on who asks, what I would recommend to them. So. This is a book that I would recommend to, for example, my friend Anibal. He's someone, and my friend Wilfred. Those two are the ones that I know that might enjoy this book. But if some other friend asks me, what comic book do you recommend? Just as an open, what comic book would you recommend? That's not superhero. I don't know if I would recommend this right off the bat. and I honestly would give it an 8. For me, it was a solid book.
For me, so if I were to recommend this, and depending on the person, especially now after rereading it, I'd have to recommend the first 3 books. Because after book 1, they lay the groundwork of the family. You start getting into more of the supernatural aspects of it, and more of these fucking keys show up, and each one's wilder than the next. Like the head key that he pulls out of the water at the end. Literally, you can stick it in anybody in their neck, pop it open, and their head pops open like a Pez dispenser, and you can go and look at the little thoughts and pull out what you want.
Isn't that what we saw? And didn't we see that in the trailer? Like at PC.
Yeah.
So that I was like, wait, did I miss that part?
No, it pops up in book 2.
Okay.
It's actually
the last page.
in the last page of the book. It shows that on the last page.
So it'll have like all the little thoughts, and they're walking around, and they'll be the negative ones, and they can just pull out all the bad thoughts. So if someone asked me straight up for a horror book, then probably like Nailbiter, Witches.
Witches,
would probably be at the top. Even Black Magic, I really liked with Nicholas Scott. There's a couple of others that are kind of right at the back of my head.
Black Monday Murders.
Monday Murders is not a horror book.
No, I don't know. I'm just basing it on.
But I want to talk about it because Satanic Wall Street is like it's Hickman hitting.
That's cool.
Every single one of his tropes, and he does it masterfully, and it's a lot of prose. But I'm not here to talk about that right now.
Okay.
So Lock and Key, definitely. I think you have to be in a good headspace for it, especially this first volume, because I forgot about all the psychological trauma in it, and if you're not in that headspace, it could fuck with you hard. And like I said, a month and a half ago, I probably would have been like crying under the bed. Like everybody else, this is an 8 for me, possibly a 7.5. Again, you have to be choosy about who you recommend it to, and I have a feeling that people who watch the show, especially if the show dances around a lot of this stuff or leaves out a lot of the trauma, someone's going to pick up book 1 going, oh my God, what the... This has nothing to do with the show.
I feel like Sabrina's almost that way too. Like the Sabrina Netflix show, and Sabrina, like she's a lot more like twee, I guess. And even though, like I had to come to terms with the Netflix show because I'm like, okay, this Netflix show is not meant for people like me who like a little bit more like gruesome and satanic and
Afterlife
those
with
occult
Archie.
vibes. But
Holy shit!
So the book is darker than the Sabrina series.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that Sabrina show, and I wanted to pick up the book, but I was like, I don't know if I really want to something, because again, I'm not a horror comic book fan. I'm not a big fan of horror. I like the imagery. I like how things look and the aesthetic of it, but I'm not one to read a horror book after a horror book after a horror book. I would read a horror book every 10 books, maybe.
Afterlife with Archie, Sabrina accidentally causes the zombie apocalypse, trying to bring back Jughead's dog, Hot Dog.
Okay.
She brings it back corrupted, and it bites Jughead, and he starts the zombie apocalypse. And later on in the series, Sabrina gets sacrificed to Cthulhu.
Yes,
I'm not even kidding.
Amazing.
It's crazy because you're like, oh, it's Archie Comics, but then it's like, oh shit, they went there.
No. I know that those darker Archie comics are actually.
And then Francesco Francavilla, his art is chef kiss.
Oh, I love it. I actually haven't watched Netflix Sabrina specifically because I watched. Oh, I'm lying. I watched 3 episodes, realized, oh, this is not it, and then I haven't watched it since.
It does get darker as the season went on, though.
Yeah.
Like,
I knew you can go.
Go ahead.
In season 2, like I feel like it definitely picks up on some satanic vibes, which I dig. I dig that a lot. So I think that's really cool. But
Until Black Phillip shows up, I'm not okay.
I haven't seen. There's a new season out that came
Three?
out.
Mhm.
Yeah, season
Just
3
came out, yeah.
like 2 weeks ago. But I don't have internet at home, so I recently moved, so I don't have internet at home. It's sad.
The times
It's
that
really
try men's souls.
sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now that we've talked about the book, what is something that you guys are reading and would recommend or enjoying right now? Cidnya, go first.
Well, right now I'm like in the middle of a lot of things. I'm actually reading a YA fantasy book called The Raven Boys, and it's about like dumb like magic prep boys who are trying to like find the grave of like some Arthurian like literature king whose name I can't remember, and I'm having a fun time. I'm going to reread The Hunger Games soon in terms of books. And then I just finished reading JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I'm really excited. Chip Zdarsky's X-Men Fantastic Four came out today, and I'm running by.
It's
I
Wednesday.
haven't.
Shit,
it is
sorry.
Wednesday.
Yeah. I'm gonna buy it on Comixology because I really want to read it. So I'm like, ugh, I guess I'm gonna just do that. I wanted a physical, but I'm not gonna get to the shop today.
Darcy's
And-
been a good writer. Wow, his Daredevil run has been fantastic.
I haven't read it at all. I think I'm just gonna buy the whole book, like the whole collection, and just read it that way. And that's what I'm reading right now. I'm trying to get to Gone Girl really quickly. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm just reading all my comics to get to Gone Girl.
It's not a movie.
It's a movie too, but the book is like way more in detail of the shit she does. Like, whew.
I haven't watched that movie either. So.
Jennifer?
Right now, I just got the trade of Little Bird, and I was able to pick up some of the single issues, but because I just moved across country, my single issue, like continuing with a lot of those, just kind of fell to the wayside. So I finally finished Little Bird, and I know that I compare this a lot, and I feel like anytime I talk about comic books, I talk about this a lot, but it gave me vibes of Saga, and that was it's a really big thing for me to compare a book to Saga, but Little Bird right now it's beautifully done. The artwork is incredible. I love the storyline, and
I didn't get that vibe at all from that book. I kind of started comparing it to Pretty Deadly a little bit.
I get Pretty Deadly, definitely, and I love Kelly Sue DeConnick, so definitely love Pretty Deadly. But I got like Saga and East of West, and I think the reason why I think of Saga when I think of Little Bird is because I haven't fallen in love with a comic book since Saga the way I did fall in love with Little Bird. Not necessarily that there's an artwork similarity or a storyline similarity, but the way that I fell in love with Little Bird, like it made me remember when I fell in love with Saga 8 years ago.
Wow, has it been 8 years already?
Yeah.
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
2012.
8 years, 54 issues.
Yeah.
Wow. Me, I'm currently reading the Conan the Barbarian book. It just finished the 12 issue 12 came out last week and finished that first story arc by Jason Aaron. I love everything that's written by Jason Aaron. I'm a fan of this dude's writing since Thor: God of Thunder. And after that, I've been tracking a lot of stuff from him. So he's definitely a writer that I would recommend. I just finished reading that and Savage Sword of Conan. I think I'm gonna drop those books now. It's a nice. Those were 2 nice runs. I don't think I'll continue them, but I am currently reading everything that's X-Men related. You know that I dropped everything that was.
Me too.
I drop every DC books that I was reading. I'm not reading anything DC comics right now, which is super weird. The first time in years that I do that, but I'm reading everything X-Men related right now. Fallen Angels is my least favorite of them. The first issue had me like, yes, I want to read more, but then after that, and the ending was it. And I don't know, that book was a little bit disappointing. I know there was a lot of work involved in it, but it just wasn't for me.
I wasn't feeling it.
But X-Men, X-Force, Marauders,
Marauders have been good.
New Mutants. Dude, you know, since when I think I've never said, oh, I love this New Mutants run. You know, I've
Not
never
even
been.
Rob Liefeld?
Yeah, I mean, let's not go there. But even that book, I'm like, the Marauders book, I'm like, yeah, I'm enjoying the Excalibur. Like Excalibur is the book that I never ever.
I love Excalibur so much.
I hate that book. I hate it so much.
Really?
I hate it.
Oh my
I can't
God.
stand that book.
I mean, I'm a little biased, you know. Gambit's in it, so
Like
I'm a nerd for Arthurian literature. Like I love King Arthur and Gwendolyn and all that stuff. So I'm just having a fun time. I'm just having fun.
Once the future has everything you need, Arthurian.
Yeah, I want to read that. The Excalibur book took me a little bit off, got me off base because I wasn't expecting it to be so magical. You know, I was expecting the X-Men that I grew up with, science fiction-y, heroic, and this set of books, this whole thing that's happening right now, it's for me very, very refreshing take on these characters, you know. And I've been enjoying all of them. Like I said, the only one that I did not enjoy it as much was Fallen Angels.
For me, I've talked about it a lot. I kind of have superhero book kind of a malaise with it. Like I'm just not enjoying them as much as I used to.
Mm-hmm.
I still read them. I still keep up with everything, but the love I had for them isn't quite where it used to be. So right now from Image Comics, Philadelphia. I love that book. Rodney Barnes and Jason Sean Alexander have made this vampire book that, I mean, everything's been done to death with vampires, but they kind of hit a part of it that I had not expected. It's kind of like Guillermo del Toro's The Strain. Except
you were telling me about
John Adams is the father of vampires. He faked his own death coming back with yellow fever from the islands, and actually he became a vampire. So him and Abigail both staged their own deaths and then created this entire vampire community in Philadelphia, and eventually Abigail leaves him and makes a sex club and has people get turned into vampires there.
Sounds like fun.
Hell yeah. I want to read it, but in trade.
Yeah, issue 3 just went over the whole history of John Adams, what he did after all these years. And a little bit of it is like The Wire, where there's these inner city kids that they turned into vampires. They're now questioning everything John Adams is doing. And it's a weird mixture of a lot of things, and I'm fascinated by it, where every issue, like I close it, I'm just like, wow.
I just read.
Yeah, like and then from DC Comics, The Last God by Philip Kennedy Johnson and Riccardo Federici. It's one of the rare books where the cover art looks just like the interiors. It's basically got a lot of Lord of the Rings touch to it, where basically the Fellowship they fought, it'd be like if they fought Sauron, didn't beat him and came back and lied that they did. And he comes back more powerful than ever. And this thing, it's like a creeping plague that will turn people into these flowering zombies, and their bodies dysmorph and spikes shoot out. And it's almost like those creepy animes, horrors, where like the body always does whacked out stuff, like an arm will end up like 5 feet away by vines. And it has 4 issues deep now, and every issue like I look forward to.
Why didn't I know that existed? I just looked it up, and this is from DC Comics, and
it's a black label. The Sean Gordon Murphy White Knight runs have been fantastic. That dude seems to understand Batman more than a bunch of other people do. Although the boots, I fucking hate the boots and that weird neck piece. It's got a little too much flair on it. I have been picking up the James Tynion Batman because I promised after Tom King left that I would start picking it up again. So I had a promise to keep, and I've kept with it, and it's been decent. Like,
it's been decent.
Look, it's not not this deconstruction every issue of Batman with his feelings. I don't need that.
Yeah.
I just need him beating ass and like. Well, no, Alfred. That kind of sucks though. But
I read Ghost Rider #1 a few days ago. Sorry, interrupted you. So super rude. Sorry.
Right.
And I read the 2 Thor issues that came out recently.
But I dog Tom King to no end. His Batman stuff and Heroes in Crisis. I loved Vision. I really like Mr. Miracle, and I'm looking forward to Strange Adventures. When there's characters with not much deconstruction or history on, I'm fascinated by what he comes up with. Just Batman and Wally West, just stay the fuck away from. But like Strange Adventures, I'm looking forward to. I am not looking forward to the Batman Catwoman series. So even though they're bringing in the Phantasm, Phantasm. I'm kind of excited about that. Just not Phantasm in that book, but I love Clayman's art, so I always have that argument of like, do I just ignore the writing and just like the art?
Yeah.
But
Sometimes you have to make sacrifices and take one for the team.
Of course, Once and Future, Something is Killing the Children. There's a lot of books that I really like. And for the people just finding Hickman, East of West is fantastic.
East of West.
Yeah.
East of West.
Black Monday Murder.
So good.
If you just, there's just so much text. And for like Remender, Low is one of my favorite series. It's ending soon, and I'm gonna be real sad about that. Nailbiter's coming back April 1st.
Whoop! I need to catch up.
Oh, I love
So
Nailbiter. Plus,
I
Josh
literally.
so good.
Oh, I was like, I literally only bought Nailbiter because on Image's website they describe it as like Twin Peaks meets Seven, and I was like, got me.
Wait. That's too much in one sentence. I don't think I was prepared.
That's like everything for me. I was like, this is all I need. Actually, and I lied. I remembered more books I'm really liking, but if there's time for that, I will say more.
You get as long as you want.
Oh no, I was like, Al Ewing just started his Guardians of the Galaxy run, and it is so good. At least I really like it. I know a lot of people don't like.
Like he looks like he's about to go on Miami Vice.
Oh yeah, no, I love it. He's sleek. He's stunting. Oh, well, I mean, he like basically was on his deathbed like the entirety of Donnie's run. So I'm like, yes, Rocket's actually doing something. And Jeff Lemire's Black Hammer universe title, Skulldigger and Skeleton Boy, is phenomenal and fantastic, and it is hitting everything I want out of like crime noir vigilante like stories right now, and it is just so good.
Oh, there's a book out from Dark Horse that I'm reading. Issue 3 just came out. The Butcher of Paris. It fucked me up because it's a true story.
Oh, wow.
So this Dr. Petiot during Nazi-occupied France was basically pretending to be a kind of underground railroad person to get Jews out of Paris. Instead, he was killing them and butchering them. And like I first started reading, going, this is fantastical. And then at the end, they tell you it's a true story, and I looked it up. And yep, this guy like literally was butchering people because the Nazi occupied, like he was basically able to get away with everything.
I don't think I'm to read that right now.
It's interesting. Artist, it's kind of doing like an Eduardo Riso type.
Yeah, I just looked it up. I just looked it up, and I actually want to read it, but I don't think I'm emotionally ready for it.
Yeah, I wasn't, and then I saw it was a true story at the end. There's a whole thing of like researching, and I was like, oh shit!
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. I haven't been able to finish Red Dead Redemption 2 because I'm not emotionally prepared to finish that game. I won't be able to process this.
Anybody got anything else?
I'm thinking. Yeah, I mean, I finished JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, like Volume 4, Diamond is Unbreakable, so everyone could, always read JoJo. But that's the last thing I got. Just read JoJo.
Okay. Everything froze for a second. Yeah. I was like, uh-oh.
We're back. That second issue of Thor, they destroyed the Justice League and the DC universe. It's pretty cool. Yes, you heard that right.
Speaking of, there's supposed to be this crisis that's going to happen. It's going to be another DC Marvel crossover.
I think that this is this. Okay, so hear me out. Hear me out for a second. I don't know what other issue I read from Marvel a few days ago or a few weeks ago that they showed Superman, Batman, and they show Wonder Woman in small panels, but it's clearly them. And in this issue of Thor, they talk about the god of the sun, the god of speed, the god of strength, and they clearly show the Emerald Light champion, and it's obvious that it's Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern who they're talking about. And even in the panel, you can tell what's happening. You can tell who they are in the panel, although it's just a color streak. You can tell what's happening. The point is that now that you mentioned that, it would not surprise me that there's a DC Marvel crossover, maybe hinting. Maybe
Donny Cates and Jim Lee posted something from a signing. They're kind of hinting about it.
Don't get my hopes up, man. I would because listen, Linda, listen. So I remember the DC Marvel thing from the 90s.
Yeah, it was terrible.
No, I loved it. I know it's terrible. I mean, I know it's terrible, but that's why I loved it, because it's horrible. I love that thing from start to finish. I have all of those books, even the amalgam issues. I love them. So the idea of having these two companies making a crossover again, it's gonna legit make me a really, really happy individual. I hope that shit happens.
Yeah, knowing my luck, it's gonna be written by freaking Tom King.
Oh my god.
Boy,
Oh, man.
it's just Batman and Punisher talking out their feelings. Boy, whew.
I mean, I kind of
Awesome.
want to read that.
I would love to see that. I would love to see that. Let's see like a bromance, you know?
Right? I mean,
They're just hugging out. Be like, "I'll be okay."
Yeah.
Martha.
I wouldn't mind these two sitting down just one day and comparing scars, you know?
Where'd you get that damn clown? Jigsaw. Why am I talking like the freaking
I don't know, man.
Batman from
I don't know. You're the one who went on that.
I want them to like sit on a couch and like with a bottle of bourbon and
Right?
just like in front of a fire, you know what I mean?
Just sit down and in
I
a
love
bathrobe, you know? Like legit in bathrobe, just sitting down, smoking a cigar.
Yeah,
Man,
they're just chilling. That'd be fun.
I don't think that Bruce Wayne would smoke a cigar, but I can see Punisher smoking a cigar.
Wonder Woman and She-Hulk getting hammered out on the town.
Yeah, that would be dude, that
Oh,
would be
yeah.
the book. Oh my god, I would read the shit out of that book so many times.
Captain Marvel just sitting there going, "I can't drink. I'm an alcoholic.
Damn.
It's gonna have this juice box."
All right, so you need to write these things down, man. So really cool ideas.
Trademark.
Fan fiction.
Right,
Some
right.
fan
Mhm.
fiction between them.
Oh god, it'll end up becoming this crazy yaoi.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
I think we've hit our mark.
Yeah.
Too far. But I want to thank you guys for coming on and talking about this. And if for some reason you see something we're doing in the future, open invite. It was nice having other people joining us. It's good to have other voices in the room instead of us just going back and forth. Hey, you know what I really like?
Someone that actually did their homework, you know.
I did my
Page
homework.
counts.
Yeah, I did. Page count.
So page 96. How do you know that?
But seriously, I'm glad it all worked out that you were able to come on, Cidnya. I know we've been kind of going back and forth about this for a while, trying to find a time. And also, Jennifer, it's been a pleasure having you on again, talking comics this time instead of Dune. And Gambit, my faithful co-host. Where are you going to be at?
Me? So I'm waiting for MegaCon to reply and tell me that I'm in. The plan is for me to be at MegaCon in Orlando in April, then Puerto Rico Comic Con in May. And if I am lucky, I'll be at Dragon Con in Atlanta.
Can they buy commissions from you?
Yes, anyone who wants commissions, you can go to my website, gambitsync.com, and there's on the shop, there's a tab that says commissions, and you can choose if you want the 9x12 page or if you want a blank cover. If you want a blank cover, just hit me up and give me that so I can send you a list of the blank covers that I have, which is a lot. I have two small boxes full of blank covers only. I have a problem. I need to get.
And you do tattoos, right?
And I'm actually a tattoo artist that pretends to be a comic book artist.
Can you tattoo a blank cover for me?
That's actually a cool idea.
If it's made out of skin, yeah.
It wouldn't be white. It wouldn't be white, but I can actually do that. And then you go to a convention and you have anyone to just sketch you with Sharpie something. And at each convention you would have a new sketch on your leg for a few hours. Ooh, I'm gonna sell that.
Well, just get books with skin as the cover, like Leatherface. Jennifer, where can they find you?
Mostly Instagram and a couple of reviews so far on the Comic Lounge.
And Cidnya?
I'm everywhere. I am on Twitter and on YouTube and on Instagram all the time. I don't have a life, but I really like comics and books, so that's what I do. And it's always Cidnya Reads for all of it.
Awesome.
And you can find me on Instagram at dirty_epic, comic_chop_news, or at chop comic on Twitter. And I am
Comic Chop News on YouTube.
Yes, Comic Chop News. Well, if they're there, they're here already.
That's right.
And Gambit's been my emotional support by blocking some people in my life for me because I couldn't do it myself. Just recovering, being the best person I can.
Just let it go. Let it go.
It's gone. And again, Sid, if you're watching, thank you. And I swear to God, we're not going to do Preacher until you can come on.
Yeah.
I promise.
We need to do Preacher, but we have to wait for her.
I know D Comic Queen wants us to do Die Volume 2. Split the party for the next show. I still have Black Monday Murders I want to do. Got a bunch of books I want to do. Like Planetary is like one of my favorite books, and I have not done it yet. And I'm
all right. So far we have done something from Image. We have done something from. We did Low. We did. I forgot what we've done so far.
We did Long Halloween.
We
did one Marvel book.
What Marvel book did we do?
Kraven's Last Hunt.
Oh, that's true. Oh my God, I forgot about that. Yes, that is true. All right, so we can go, and now we did Locke and Key. We should do something from Dark Horse next. You haven't done anything from Dark Horse.
Black Hammer.
Yeah, I'll be there for that.
No, I haven't.
Oh, dude.
All right. So
she just got excited. She's like,
all right, so I think that's what's gonna happen next.
It's great.
All right.
Yeah. So if you guys want to be on for that,
yes, I will. Whether you like it or
I just bought the first trade for Black Hammer because I really like the Skulldigger and Skeleton Boy, and I'd be very down for it because Jeff Lemire is very hit or miss for me, but when I like him, like I love it.
Gideon Falls is actually doing something finally. It took.
I don't want to talk about that. Goodbye. Like, is it worth it though? Is it like doing enough for me to like try to read the second or third volume?
I said it's getting somewhere. I didn't say it was there yet.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, I'm kind of I'm the same way with what the hell's that book by Robert Kirkman? It's
I don't read his stuff, so I don't know.
Oh God, there's the one that's out there right now where they're jumping dimensions. It's I
like know what you're talking about, but I have no idea what it is.
It's so in my memory of boredom that I keep reading it because I'm like, it's got to be somewhere. It's got to be going somewhere. Yeah, I'm hate reading it. I don't know why.
Dude, stop doing it. It's not even
hate reading. Like Kirkman has had books where like it took forever to get there, but once it got there, I was like, awesome. but then there was Outcast that like started out so hot, and then by like the 20th issue, I was just like,
Are you talking
same
about
shit?
Are you talking about Die Die Die?
No, not Die
No?
Die Die.
Okay, I don't know. I haven't read Die Die Die. No.
It's not even worth talking about. I'm done with it. Invincible's a great book though. So I'll die on that hill.
Invincible, yeah, Invincible is a really good book.
Anyway, it was great having you guys. So we're probably gonna end it here. And again, thank you for coming on and talking about a book that was not exactly what you guys expected.
No, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Actually, I'm really glad that I got to read this book, and I'm really glad that I got the chance to discuss it with you guys.
And then Friday you can pick it apart when it pops on Netflix. You go,
oh yeah, I'm gonna pick this thing apart on Friday.
I'm that asshole.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, that sucks.
Although, like, I didn't have those issues with Umbrella Academy. Weirdly,
it's because Umbrella Academy fixed everything that's wrong with the book. Yeah, but that's my hot take.
Yeah, I like the show. I like the show better.
I heard a rumor.
Yeah,
I like the show more than I like the book. I'm not gonna lie.
Yep.
I like both a lot, but
no, it's not that I really like the book. I like the book. Don't get me wrong. I like the book a lot, but I honestly enjoy the show more than I enjoy the book. Sorry.
No,
that's super valid. Oh my god.
It was super little things that I pick apart, like, and it's petty, and I'm a super petty person, I guess. I'll sit there and be like, I don't remember that, and I start flipping. I was like, knew it. I mean, kind of like you with Sabrina, Jen. Like, I was just like, just isn't satanic enough for me yet.
It's not satanic enough. 99% of the things I encounter are not satanic enough.
And then,
and here I thought that I was watching the most satanic show ever. I was like so excited about it. Yes, it was Satan, man. Oh no, yeah.
The teacher walks around as like a skeleton for a while, and like Harvey gets possessed.
Damn.
Like, there's some crazy shit that.
All right, so I'm gonna have to pick up that book definitely because you guys are twisting my arm here. So
it's worth.
I guess.
Like I'm a horror lover, and like that one, I was like, Sabrina got hardcore shit. It just takes forever for issues to come out. Because...
I honestly couldn't get past the fact that it was that it was Sabrina. When I saw the comic, I never picked it up. Because it's Sabrina. It's not going to be good.
But that actress, they couldn't have cast that better.
Yeah.
And with the show, I was like, I'm not going to watch this show. And one day I put it on because I was bored. It's like, oh, right. 4 episodes later. So what's up? What's happening? What's happening?
That girl was in Mad Men, and I will die and watch everything she's in eventually.
I am going to make a very honest I've never watched Mad Men.
Oh, me neither.
I love Mad Men so much. It's like, here's my Don Draper. Mad Men's really good.
I remember just falling asleep to Mad Men.
Oh man,
that was Law and Order for me.
Damn,
I'd hear doom doom, and I'd be out cold.
Did you have a Pablo's response?
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm a sucker for like.
Sorry.
Like sleazy, like this is gonna sound weird, but I love stories involving like sleazy businessmen. Like I love American Psycho so much, so that I feel like anything that kind of touches on like that type of like capitalism.
Or do you love American Psycho the movie?
I like both. Both were
Christian
very
Bale
good.
Magical in that movie.
Yeah, but Mad Men is very like the underbelly of the advertising like thing, but it's so steeped in its period history that I feel like it gets lost because it's so like aware of what it's doing. But it's really good. I love it. Don Draper sucks, and it's great.
Because of that, or what you said, I'm gonna have to go check out Mad Men like tonight. Oh no, I don't have internet yet.
Damn it! There's too many seasons of it. I have to go see Birds of Prey tomorrow to do reaction video afterward while I'm at work. So I'm bringing my iPad with me to record it so I can upload it when I get out.
Because that's what you do while you're at work. Record a reaction video.
There's nobody in the store but me and 5 other people.
Hey man, I'm not judging you. I would have done the same if I had the chance, you know.
but we're about to hit an hour and a half, so
Yeah, I want to hit the comic book store, man.
Yeah.
it's still open.
All right.
All right,
Bye,
take care.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you again.
Pleasure.
Bye.
Mm.